Hey guys, it's Jess, and I am super excited to be collaborating with a fun group of crafters for the Hedgehog Hollow Hop. Now, this hop is all about hedgehogs because it is sponsored by the Hedgehog Hollow, and there are some goodies for you to win, so be sure to check out the description box down below to see what you can win and how to enter. So for today's hop, we are all making projects that feature hedgehogs. That is the only stipulation, is that all of our projects must contain a hedgehog, and I'm excited to see how everybody else incorporates hedgehogs into their project. For my project, I wanted to stick with more lawn fawn products because I do love lawn fawn, and I had some super cute hedgehogs that needed to be used. So I started with the stitched Hillside border dies from lawn fawn and some green cardstock. I also used the Gotta Have Gingham paper pack from Lawn Fawn. This is a 6x6 paper pack, and it has some really cute patterns in there with the gingham. I really liked this one for the sky. I thought it was a cool way to add some texture to the sky, so I went with that. Once I went ahead and cut out my grassy hills, I did go ahead and do a little bit of ink blending just with some distress ink in pine needles, and this kind of gave a little bit more depth and dimension to my project. I felt like it gave just a little bit more oomph to what would have just been a plain cardstock background. I really like the way that that added a little bit of texture and dimension. So once I was finished with my hills, I did go ahead and attach them to my card base. I let these dry before I went ahead and did any of my heat embossing on it. I wanted to add a sentiment directly to the bottom of that hill or that front hill, but I wanted to make sure that my ink was completely dry before I did this because I didn't want any of the embossing powder sticking to that. I actually did some other things while I was waiting for it to dry, and then I came back to it a little bit later. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp out a couple of the hedgehogs from Hedgehugs, and I'm going to stamp out a bunch of them, and I'm actually only going to color two, but I'm going to turn on some music so that we can speed right along through this coloring, and then I'll be right back with you after I'm done. All right, so we are done with our coloring, and now we are ready to go ahead and heat emboss our sentiment. So this adorable sentiment says, "Sending hedgehugs." I love these tiny little stamps from Lawn Fawn because the sentiments always coordinate, and I just think that they're so super adorable. I really love puns, so they always speak to me. So I'm just using an anti-static powder tool from Ranger, some embossing ink from Brutus Monroe. That's kind of my go-to embossing ink because it's not sticky, it's actually oil-based, so it stays wet longer until you heat set it, so you have more time to play around if you're not the fastest crafter, which is me. So I'm just using some alabaster embossing powder from Brutus Monroe, and then I did go ahead and melt that embossing powder off camera. Once I had that all ready to go, I did use some double-sided tape to adhere my little grassy hills to my sky background. I wanted the larger hill up in the back and then this kind of shorter hill in the front to give it the look that it was kind of like a hilly plain or I don't know, just some big grassy field with hills. I think that that looks really cute. I like the way that that distress ink added some texture and dimension there. And then I just go ahead and start playing around with my design a little bit. It took me a bit to decide what exactly I wanted to do, but I decided I actually wanted to pull in a couple different stamp sets. So I went looking through my stash of Lawn Fawn, which I will admit is larger than I thought it was. So I was flipping through and I actually landed on two completely unrelated sets. One is called Toboggan Together, so it's a Christmas set, and I just wanted that tree from it. And then another one has a very similar tree, only it's much smaller. This one's called Mom and Me, and it has just that cute little tinier tree, and I thought that they were a perfect match. They were really similar but different sizes, so it worked perfect for what I needed. So I'm just using my Mini Misty to get them in position where I want them. I'm going to use some Hero Arts shadow inks for this. I used the Field Greens color for the trees, and then I did go ahead and once I finished stamping them, colored the tree trunks with a Copic marker just so that it gave it a little bit more, I don't know, texture, dimension, interest, a little more depth. And I just used two colors, nothing fancy, just wanted to add a little bit of extra color so it wasn't white at the bottom there. So I did repeat this because I knew I needed at least 3 trees. I wanted one of the large trees and 2 of the smaller trees. And then I ended up just keeping that second large tree to use on a future project. So I repeated the same thing here, just coloring the trunks of the trees in with super basic Copic coloring. And then I did take these over to my die cutting machine and cut them out using the coordinating dies. Now for the Toboggan Together set, apparently I had never used those dies before. So I did have to go ahead and cut them apart using wire snips, but it was easy peasy, super fast. And luckily my tree was one of the outside dies, so I didn't have to do too much work to get at it. So I did go ahead and die cut all of that off camera. I die cut a few extra pieces as well. That included a 3 little butterflies and a little heart from the Mom and Me set. So those all came from that same set. So you can see the butterfly up there, and then I've got the heart just kind of place holding. Nothing is glued down. I was just trying to get where kind of like sort of a layout of where I wanted it. So now I'm using some of the little blades of grass from the Mom and Me set to add a little more interest and dimension to my background here. I thought this stepped it up a little bit and made it look a little cooler. So I'm just using those 2 blades of grass. I didn't go too crazy. I wanted to add a lot more, but then I decided not to. I refrained. But yeah, so I wanted to keep it fairly simple. I wanted to add a little bit, but not too much. I didn't want it to be too busy. And I was having a hard time trying to figure out where exactly to put those blades of grass so it didn't look weird. But there you have it. So you can see up top there I have 3 little yellow butterflies and I have 1 heart. I'm going to go ahead and use my glue tube, this little glue pen from Lawn Fawn, to adhere all of my little guys down to my card front. And then once I am done with that, I will just be mounting my card front to some foam. Now I go back and forth with which method I prefer. Sometimes I like to use fun foam or craft foam, which is just like the kids craft that you can find at the craft store, like at Michael's or wherever. I like to use that. It's pretty thin though, so it gives a nice sturdy bit of dimension, but it doesn't pop your card up too much. So that's great for mailing them. They're not too bulky. Sometimes I do like to use foam tape instead. Like I said, I just kind of go back and forth with what I like to use. Kind of what I'm in the mood for or how much dimension I want. This time I decided to go with some fun foam or craft foam. I used a coordinating color because I think that really helps to kind of go along with the card. That way if you see it from the side, it doesn't look super weird if you have some random color that doesn't match. So I used some green fun foam, and then I used some double-sided adhesive from scrapbook.com to adhere that down. Now with my butterflies, so I glued them them in place. I did use some little finishing touches here and there on my butterflies and my heart. So we will get to that here in just a second. So while I am gluing everything down and getting everything in place, I wanted to take a second and just talk about the hop for a minute. So this hop is part of a collaboration of crafty YouTubers. We're all joining together to just do a little bit of promotion for the Hedgehog Hollow. That is why the theme is hedgehogs, like I mentioned earlier. We're all using hedgehogs in some way, shape, or form, whether it's card making or there's all kinds of products coming. You just wait. But we're using the Hedgehog Hollow stuff because the Hedgehog Hollow has sponsored this hop and is giving away 2 prizes. So there is a Tonic Studios goodie bag up for grabs, as well as a coupon code, I believe, to the Hedgehog Hollow. But definitely check out that description below. Make sure that you enter in the link below so that you are eligible to win. So for those finishing touches, I did just add the Midas Touch Shimmer pen from Nuvo Tonic, and then some glossy accents to the heart. And like I was talking about earlier, I put that on some foam, popped it up on my white A2 size card panel, and that finished off my card for today. I hope you guys love this. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Make sure you hit that bell notification icon to get notified every time I post a new video or go live. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Click on down in that description link below to hop to your next person.